Hello, thank you for tuning in to Kaieteur Radio. I am Kevin Smith and welcome to your news afternoon. These are the top stories we're tracking. Illegal foreign concrete factory linked to ExxonMobil and director discards contravention order. Oil and gas more expensive than renewables, says UN Secretary General, and urges global banking system to fund more climate resilient projects. Meanwhile, soldiers and cop arrested for breaching COVID-19 regulations. GWI paid $45 million for a 22-year-old inoperable truck, and employees trained overseas to use equipment now off the job. Stay tuned to stay informed.
Weak systems of governance and the absence of the rule of law both combine to form the perfect stage for corruption to flourish. As part of our anti-corruption fight at Kaieteur Radio, we invite you to join us every Tuesday evening from 7:30 p.m. as we embark on the most needed quest to remove the tentacles of corruption from our systems. See you then for our latest program called Governance, Corruption and Justice.
And now for the news in detail. A foreign-controlled company, Superior Concrete Inc., whose officers are Ian Charles Jones, Richard Austin Shamlin, and Maxwell Christopher Snow, has proceeded to build a concrete batching facility in Houston without any regulatory permission. We confirmed this with the Mayor and City Council, Central Housing and Planning Authority, and the EPA. Now, to make matters worse, when the Central Housing and Planning Authority visited the site to serve a contravention order last week, this order was discarded by Jones. The document demanded that the foreign officers show which regulatory body gave them the power or the permission to go ahead with their operations. The land in question is a development adjacent to South Rheinfeldt. We were able to obtain a copy of the transport for the plot in use and observed that it is part of Houston Estates. The land is also partly owned by Michael Vera, who is the chairman of Houston Estates. Vera has indicated to concerned landowners that he does not know the owners of Superior Concrete Inc., and he has no arrangement with them. Meanwhile, between fossil fuels and renewables, Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, recently said there is no doubt now that the latter is a way more cost-effective option, thereby reinforcing the soundness of calls to transition to cleaner energy sources. Given the need to make radical changes to lower global temperature, Guterres is urging the global banking system to fund more climate-resilient projects. Guterres says he welcomes countries that have pledged to end fossil fuel finance and subsidies. He stressed, nonetheless, that the time has come to put a price on carbon and to shift taxation from income to carbon. And moving on. 4 GDF ranks along with a policeman were yesterday arrested for breaching the COVID-19 regulations. According to a police report, the lawmen were apprehended between 1:30 and 2 hours at 43 Middle Street, Port Ryan on the west bank of Demerara. One of the GDF ranks had hosted a private party at the location. Joint services ranks were at the time conducting a COVID-19 enforcement in the area when they observed the party in full swing and decided to drop in. The attendees, upon seeing the ranks, hurried for the nearest exit, but the GDF ranks, the policeman, and 2 civilians were caught. They reportedly began behaving disorderly and attempted to resist arrest. One of the civilians, according to police, had kicked the back windscreen of its patrol vehicle, completely shattering it. And on that note, let's tell you that GWI this past week announced the acquisition of a hydraulic well maintenance truck, but the utility company is at present unable to use the $45 million piece of equipment since it is inoperable. Additionally, the personnel trained by the utility company in Holland to operate the machinery have since left the job, even as GWI is desperately trying to get the truck operational so that it can assimilate the vehicle into its 2021 robust well maintenance program. The $45 million truck and ancillaries are 22 years old, and it only carries a limited warranty of 6 months, valued at 10% or $2.5 million. There is no warranty for the additional ancillary equipment purchased. And on that note, Coming up after the break, Linden woman raped and sodomized after attending wake. Convict remanded for attempted to kill cop and taxi driver, and also get your COVID-19 update after the break.
Don't you worry, Guyana, cause we got you. If and Mark and Bharat are here for you. Improving the nation, better education, delivering 20,000 scholarships, and it's all for you. Don't you worry, Guyana, cause we got you. So many opportunities, so many universities, studying all from the comfort of your home. The Guyana Online Academy of Learning. So get a line and go apply. This will change your life. Don't you worry, Guyana, cause we got you. Don't you worry, Guyana, we're here for you.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. Linden police are searching for a man who last Friday evening reportedly raped and sodomized a Linden woman at the Bamia Creek. The woman, who is said to be in her 20s, reported the incident at the Amelia's Ward Police Outpost, where she detailed that after attending the wake of the late Shawnette Dover, she along with a friend were driven by the perpetrator to Bamia on the Linden-Suzac Highway, where the acts were performed on her without her consent. A relative of the perpetrator was also an occupant of the car and allegedly witnessed the ordeal. Commander of Region 10, Hugh Winter, said that the perpetrator has been identified and he is a known character. Police are aggressively searching for him. Meanwhile, Samuel Allen, the man who was on remand for 5 years for the alleged murder of a Brazilian minor and had the charge acquitted against him by a jury in 2019, was recently remanded to prison again, this time for attempting to kill a taxi driver and a police officer. Allen was slapped with 2 counts of attempted murder charges. He was not required to plead guilty to the charges, which alleges that on September 11, 2020, he attempted to kill a 40-year-old Troy Roberts, a taxi driver, and on September 14th, while resisting arrest, he attempted to kill Lance Corporal Bertland Scotland. Both incidents reportedly took place at Port Kaituma in Region 1. Magistrate Bess remanded Allen to prison, and the matter was adjourned to August 3rd. It was reported that on the night of September 11th, Roberts had to run for his life after he was stabbed to the neck in his car by Allen, who was a passenger at the time. And in moving on, when it comes to the implementation of government projects or plans to develop the Guyanese society, politicians seem to be pulling numbers out of a hat to make their promises more believable. General Secretary of the Guyana Trades Union, Lincoln Lewis, laid out that firm conviction. Expounding on the reasoning for this commentary, Lewis spoke to the PPPC government's promise to create 50,000 jobs in 5 years, stating that so far it has brought society no hope. Notably, along the PPPC's 2020 election campaign trail, President Irfan Ali had announced the promise to create 50,000 jobs in 5 years. Just last week, at a press conference, President Ali shed light on that manifesto promise yet again, stating that it is well underway. Ali also uttered that while job creation is preeminent, keeping track of jobs created is also important. And on that note, let's tell you that the Ministry of Education on Friday last signed a contract valued $166.5 million for the expansion of the Northwest Secondary School in Region 1. Minister of Education Priya Manik Chand said the project, made possible through the Caribbean Development Bank and the government's Guyana Skills Development and Employability Project, will improve the government's capacity to deliver technical vocational education and training programs equitably across the sector. And at this time, we now head over to the COVID-19 update. According to Worldometer, the number of worldwide coronavirus cases has reached 159.3 million, with deaths at 3.3 million and recovery cases at 136.8 million. Locally, the country has seen 14,362 cases with 325 deaths and recoveries at 12,154. Meanwhile, the country has 1,883 active cases with 16 critical. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.